be live as well if you want to tune in that way. All right, let me go ahead and pull up our brief. All right, so this is, again, like I mentioned, this is our 4th time doing this. This was started by one of our previous presidents, Lieutenant Commander now, Darnell Gov Harris. And basically what we did was we had we called it a road show, but we had the major theaters here in San Diego. We basically would give this brief, and we made sure that a lot of officers came. That way we can help answer questions and give advice for those that want to join our ranks. So I got to put in a plug for NNOA. And the National Naval Officers Association is essentially a conglomerate of all the different
join the meeting
there that come together for professional development. We are all about recruitment and as well as retention in the Navy. So I've always seen NNOA as an extension of the wardroom, and it's an awesome opportunity to talk to some of the what I like to call Navy unicorns, you know, your AMDOs, your meet talks, the folks you don't always see all the time. So it's a great way to network with a lot of different people. And one of our most favorite times of the year is the summer, May timeframe, when we get ready to, when we prepare for this brief and we get to talk to all the sailors out there and all the NCCs, which huge thanks to all the career counselors out there that are also logging on to share this information with their sailors. All right, so what we're going to do is the next couple slides are going to go over the 5 main programs that pretty much everybody knows about: Seaman, Admiral, OCS, LDO, Naval Academy. And if you were tuning in last year, we had Lieutenant White, who is the MECEP University guru. He is amazing, has this huge group on Facebook, and he told us a lot about MECEP. So this year we are highlighting the direct commissioning program, because as an active duty sailor, I'll be honest, prior enlisted, I had no idea how direct commissioning in the reserves works. So we have one of my colleagues, Lieutenant Jude Rosario, who's going to be joining us and talking to us about how the direct commissioning program works. All right, and then also I'm going to highlight a new program, the Aerial Vehicle Operator Warrant Program, that not a lot of people know about because that NAVADMIN just came out last year. And then we'll, towards the end of the brief, we have a totally different section for all the different medical programs out there. I know a lot of some of these are a little more lesser known. I'm not sure, but we have smaller programs like the Health Service Collegiate Program. Not sure if everyone's heard about that. There's also the Enlisted Medical Degree Preparatory Program, EMD P2, that super small program. Not a whole lot of people know about it, but it's a great opportunity for an enlisted sailor who knows that they want to be a physician or a dentist. It's a great opportunity to get go to USHS, get the prep you need, and then go ahead and get a degree at a follow-on school. So we're going to talk about that and then wrap it up with the Admiral. And then we are going to direct you to our website, sdnnoa.org, where you can log on there and you'll see all the different, we have at least 30 to almost 40 different breakout sessions where, again, naval officers, Mustangs, and officer recruiters are going to be standing by to answer any questions that you have, as well as to go over their lessons learned as they went through the programs and answer any questions about their community. All right, so on this part of the brief on screen, you will see our 5 main programs: the Academy, Seaman Admiral, OCS, Warrant, and the LDO program. So the unique thing about the Academy is that you have to be 17 to 23. You can't be married. You can't have any kids. You can't be pregnant. No limb-due status. And when you apply, you have to have a letter from an official source, like a U.S. representative or a senator, someone in an official capacity to recommend you. So like the Naval Academy, you have to have SAT scores of about 1,000 or more, as well as ACT scores of about 41 or more. But the cool thing about Seaman Admiral is that you are paid at a minimum E5 pay to be a full-time student. It's really, really awesome. I'm a Seaman Admiral grad, and one of the things that I loved about the program was I just wanted to solely focus on finishing my undergrad. So if you have an associate's or so, that's a great program and a great opportunity for you to finish your degree. And we are really lucky to have Lieutenant Sarah B. Miller. She is a Seaman Admiral guru. She's been doing road shows out in Hawaii, and she's with us today, actually here at my house, to go over Seaman Admiral with you and highlight the important parts that have been, some of the important things that have been updated just recently because the new NAVADMIN came out. All right, and then just about everybody knows about OCS, the Officer Candidate School. For that, you got to be at least 19 and you have to have a bachelor's. So if you are like maybe 6 classes away from a bachelor's, you may not want to do Seaman Admiral. You should probably go ahead, finish those last few classes and go OCS. So we do have one of our a relatively new OCS grad who's going to be talking with us about her journey as she went ahead and was selected for OCS. All right, and also with OCS, more than likely you will have to take the OAR depending on your designator. All right, and next we have the Chief Warrant Officer program and LDO. So for Chief Warrant, you got to be a chief. For LDO, you got to be at least an E6 or above. The important thing about the technical programs is your time in service. You want to make sure for LDO, you're between 18 and 14 years, and for a chief, 14 to 20. All right, and then we will talk more about the warrant programs in just a bit. All right, and this table over here goes over, again, the similarities between the major programs. Your funding, the one thing about accepting a commission is that you're going to have to owe the Navy time. Naval Academy and Seaman Admiral, you're going to owe the Navy 5 years. OCS is 4, and LDO and warrant. For LDO, you have to have had 10 years of commission service in order to actually retire as an officer. So we'll go into these programs in just a bit. So next is the Naval Academy. All right, so all the information that you need to know about the Naval Academy is on the USNA website. And here are some highlights here. Big things about Naval Academy as well as Seaman Admiral, your fleet performance. You need to break out. They want to see your leadership. They want to see that you're physically fit, and as well as those test scores. All right, this is a summary of the Naval Academy schedule, which you would be doing on a typical weekday. But yep, 4 years, you get pushed beyond your limits, and we'll be talking to the Admiral about his Naval Academy experience a little bit later. All right, and then here are our references. And again, in the event that you weren't emailed this brief, you can go to our website, sdnnoa.org, and you can go ahead and pull up all of these references. So as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the show to Lieutenant Sarah B. Miller, who is a Seaman Admiral grad from Old Dominion University. We went to college together. She's amazing. And she is a METOC Oceano officer. So she's going to go over Seaman Admiral.
Good afternoon, Admiral. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Twyla, for the amazing introduction. So as mentioned, I commissioned through Stay 21, and we're just going to breeze through some of the highlights here for this brief, and then we'll have a breakout session not only for Stay 21, but also for Oceano later on. Little METOC plug. So what is this? This is one of the few programs that sailors are going to get the Navy to pay for them to get to their degree. There's 2 different parts. There's the application that the sailor is going to put together, and then there's a portion that the command is going to put together once the applicant submits it into the chain of command. So some of the changes highlighted on this slide, the online application, the Stay 21 website has changed. It used to be stay21.navy.mil, and now it's hosted on NetSea. All of the parts of the Stay 21 application, for the most part, like a lot of the other applications, you're going to need personal statement, your evals, your PFA scores. The requirement here, though, is that you have 36 months to complete your bachelor's degree, and there's no waivers for that. It's not 36 months in a day, 37 months. It's 36 months. That's a hard stop. The NAVADMIN that came out last Tuesday actually delineated some changes to the SAT, ACT requirement because of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you haven't been able to take the ACT or the SAT because of availability, you can submit your high school transcripts within the last 5 years and your GPA to show the potential, your academic potential in the program. Letters of recommendation are always going to be another added, I would say, bonus. And another change is the joint service transcript, or what used to be called the SMART transcript, no longer required per the program announcement. And then further down on the screen for the NUC options, the photograph is no longer a requirement. Another big change is the PFA, PRT results. Because of COVID-19, we've had the last two PRTs, PFAs waived. So the commanding officer will submit your commanding officer will submit a statement stating that you, the applicant, are within height and weight requirements and will pass the 3 PFAs that you'll take once you get selected and go to NSI. IP selectees are going to need it says that the clearance is required. You don't have to have that currently. Once you get selected, then you would put in your SF-86. And then new personnel, if you want to apply for any non-nuclear options, you're going to have to be released from your community. Once the sailor puts together the portion of the application, it's going to then get submitted to the chain of command. And there's 2 internal boards
Join the meeting.
that are going to take place. You're going to have an internal review board that's going to be chaired by your commanding officer. And then you're going to have a second board for the nomination review, or the second board, which will be a nomination review chaired by someone who is senior to your commanding officer. All of these are going to compile the appraisal letters, and then that is going to get submitted with your application then to NSTS or NSTC. The appraisal forms should not be returned to the applicant. That should be something that once the portion 1 is done by the applicant, from then on out, then it gets submitted. Just like almost any commission, well, not almost any commissioning program, the potential of the sailor, whether it's their potential to be an officer and their academic potential, are both going to be evaluated by the selection board. So the things that they're looking at, not only the parts of the application, but the CO's endorsement. What is the sailor's willingness to assume responsibility? What does their advancement look like? What are their physical fitnesses? Or what is their physical fitness? And then anything that's helped shape their career would be encaptured in the personal statement. So the latest program announcement actually delineates almost the questions that should be answered when reading the applicant's personal statement. And then once you get selected, so you're going to go to Rhode Island for 8 weeks, what some like to call fork and knife school. You're going to get your uniforms. You're going to participate in, it's between 6 and 7 classes, whether it's sea power, or not whether, but it's going to be sea power, maritime affairs, navigation. And then from February to April, you'll be in Rhode Island. And then from there, you're going to PCS to whatever college it is that you applied for. That's where you're going to have your 36 months to complete your bachelor's degree. And you're still active duty. So if you are junior to an E5, once you get selected, you're going to receive E5 pay. And if you're senior to E5, when you get selected, you're going to maintain whatever pay grade for pay purposes. You're still available, or you're still eligible to participate in advancement exams. And then you still participate in the PRT twice. Well, when we get back to that, the PRT twice a year. Everybody excluding nurse options are going to have to take Calc 1 and Calc 2, Calc-based physics 1 and 2, and maintain a 2.5 GPA throughout the entire time. A key takeaway from last year, or from the FY21 selection, was that out of the 339 applicants, 318 were eligible for the board, and 55 of those were selected. So it's highly, highly competitive. This year, the non-qualifier is going to be if you're not meeting the exception to policy regarding the SAT and the ACT, as well as the PFA. if I could do a virtual knock on a podium, your time in Rhode Island is not going to count towards officer retirement. That starts when once you get commissioned. And then some references, the NAVADMIN that was just released last week, and then the OpNav 1420. Again, there is that the website, the changed website for State 21, and then some unofficial references or resources that you can utilize. There's a Future Mustang mentorship on Facebook, as well as a Seaman to Admiral 21 page. And that concludes my portion. I will turn it over to OCS.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Much appreciated. Okay, could you hand me my notes right away? All right, so OCS, Officer Candidate School. So thank you. So for OCS, like I mentioned, an OAR is more than likely going to be required for a lot of the different designators that are out there. In the event that you are in San Diego, my team here at Intech Southwest, we offer the OAR for all fleet returnees. So if you are looking to take that test, make sure you go to sdnnoa.org, click on the Enlisted to Officer Resources, and our point of contact, Ms. Randy Dozier, she will be the one to be able to assist you and schedule you for a test. And as well as our officer recruiters will be standing by to help answer any questions that you may have. So while at OCS, you are going to go over a lot of Navy science related information, navigation, military law, engineering, and weapons for the course of 12 weeks. And keep in mind, it's heavy PT, heavy drill, heavy memorization. All right, this is the application checklist. And the checklist, it's pretty much been the same for the last few years. And we're really lucky to have on the line Ensign Jackie Leaks. She is a recent OCS grad who is out in Norfolk right now. And she is basically going to join us, and we're going to pick her brain a little bit about OCS. So Jackie, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Okay, hi. Thank you.
Hi everybody. Hi, Admiral.
Awesome. All right, so I have a few questions for you. I know that you are a prior AZC. Tell me, when you, as a chief, what were some of the things that were going on through your mind where you thought, you know what, I want to put in a package and I want to be an officer?
Well, I would say that I planned on going officer before I picked up chief. Kind of picking up chief was something that it was a goal, but it wasn't like my end all be all goal. So once I was selected, I did have a battle within myself of, hey, this is great. This is definitely a position, a rank that a lot of people aspire to. But for me, the ultimate goal was I always wanted to be an officer. So I kind of talked to my mentors. I talked to a bunch of different people who had made the transition, and kind of like, I guess I weighed my pros and cons on what was best for my family, what was best for my career, and kind of what I felt was best for me. But it was a very difficult decision to make.
That's wonderful. And then just wondering, how many times did you apply?
I applied for OCS one time officially, but I put my package in twice. The first time the board did not see it.
Okay, roger that. When you put in your package, did you choose more than one designator?
No, I did not. I only chose one designator.
Okay, and it was SWO, I believe?
Yes, it was. Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So what were some of your reasons for going SWO?
I would say I wanted something different. As an AZC, my job was going to be the same. If I would want LDO, Chief Warrant, pretty much would have stayed along the same path. And I just wanted to do something different, learn a different part of the Navy that I wasn't really familiar with. So that was really the biggest motivator, just being in a new community, learning something different, challenging myself in a different way.
That's fantastic. Awesome. So for the sailors out there that are thinking about putting in an officer package, what's some of the advice that you were given, and what advice now going through the program would you want to share with those sailors?
The biggest thing that I was told before, once I was selected and before I reported to Rhode Island, was that just push through. It is definitely difficult, but lean on your shipmates. Having recently gone through and having to go through it during the ROM period, so 15 weeks turning into 17 weeks, I would argue that the frustration and the, oh my gosh, why am I here, kind of sets in well before you enter into the actual program. So I would argue as long to just remember your why. The biggest advice that I can give anyone is to remember their why, remember why you're there, remember why you did this, and just take it one day at a time and remain focused, because it does get easier, and the best way to get through the program is to finish.
Love it. Wonderful advice. And then one other question for you. I know at my recruiting command, I get a lot of sailors that like to ask, hey, I took the OAR, I didn't score very well. What can I do to help improve my score? So at our command, we can't really tell anybody, hey, use this book, use this, because different people have different learning styles. So what works for one person may not work for the other.
Mm-hmm.
Come back and say, hey, you told me to do this and it didn't work. So coming from an OCS grad, how did you prepare yourself to take the OAR, and what were some resources that helped make you successful?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask, just because I did not study the one time that I took the OAR. But that is definitely something that I regret. I wish I had a study, because then I could have got a score that was better than what I got. But there are a lot of resources available, and if I was to have to do it all over again, I would utilize those other resources. There's some online resources, and I had these available to me. I just was like, I'm gonna just wing it and kind of go in there and see what it is. So, yeah, I would definitely say take advantage of the resources available, the books. I know Pearson online is really, really good. They have a lot of online resources. And I would recommend utilizing those, just because the better your score, not even for the specific designator, but it just makes you that much more competitive. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you, Ensign Leaks, and congratulations.
Thank you all for having me.
To you. Of course. And so Ensign Leaks and other OCS grads will be in the breakout sessions. And again, all of those breakout links and web IDs are going to be on our website, where you can jump in and ask some of the amazing leaders I've had an opportunity to work with, like Lieutenant Tony Gerhardt, who is a super swell, a witty. He has also had the opportunity to sit on some of the OCS boards for SWO. So he's definitely somebody that you want to talk to, as well as Lieutenant Alicia King. She is a former CTI, and she has her own breakout group where she can talk to you at length about how she was able to get selected for OCS as well. All right, and on the screen are your references for the board schedule. So on my Navy HR website, there is a link to the board schedule. So if you're unable to use the MPTE site, go ahead and go to my Navy HR. Next up, the Mustangs. All right, so we talked about the eligibilities for LDO. One thing that did pop up that I just learned about this morning is that, unfortunately, the IP LDO program will be closing for fiscal year 23. Unfortunately. So fiscal year 22 is going to be the last time. Those of you that want to go LDO IP, it'll be the last time you'll be able to apply. But we are lucky enough to have Lieutenant Gill. He is the Assistant Community Manager for LDO Warrant, and he was nice enough to let me steal some of his slides for this brief. And he has created 2 different breakout sessions so he can talk to you about the LDO program. We also have coming up Lieutenant Commander Cooper, who we'll be talking to in just a bit about the LDO program, some of his lessons learned, and how things are going up in Millington. All right, but overall, when it comes to LDO, just keep in mind the LDOs and the warrants, the Mustangs, they are the technical leadership experience that all ships, all commands go to when it comes to needing a leader who has that technical expertise.
Good afternoon, and this is Commander Butts. I finally resolved all of my technical issues, but
hi, sir.
I am here, and I do apologize. Admiral and everybody, good afternoon, and thanks for the invite.
Oh, hello, sir. Okay, I'm so excited. Commander Butts is joining us from Cuba. So we were worried about our connectivity concerns, but sir, it is great to have you. And we have time, we will come over to you and ask you a few questions. But thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so this slide right here is coming from the LDO CWO community brief that was just updated from Lieutenant Gill and his team, and it is now on the My Navy HR website. And it talks about discrete requirements, which are basically the specific leadership qualities, skills, technical abilities that board members are looking for when it comes to selecting the next LDO and warrants. The new timeline has been updated, and this timeline right here covers, but basically right now in May, you should have already submitted an application to admin if you want to be submitted for this upcoming board. And then applications are going to be due to NPC October 1st. All right, and some of the lessons learned from the last board cycle. So 2,400 people, more than 2,400 people put in a package for LDO and warrant. Those that were eligible, 2,200. And then the selectees for LDO was 18% and warrant was 26%. So it is highly competitive out there. We threw in some of the commonalities that was noticed when it comes to the competition, and most folks are in their early 30s with 15 years of education. So yes, I know a lot of folks like to say, oh, you know, LDO, I don't have to have a college degree so I can go LDO. Actually, it helps to have a college, have college education, but keep in mind that your college education does not replace what's needed on the technical side of the house. They still want to see that you know your stuff. And again, so when it comes to the boards, they're only looking at what is in your OMPF, ESR, and PSR. All right, and speaking of LDO, I just want to throw in here real fast a program that was just introduced late last year, the AVO program. So for all of you that are out there that you love flying drones, you could become a warrant officer. And looking at the program authorization, they're taking anyone from E1 and up. You get to go to OCS, you train, and then you get commissioned as a warrant 1. You cannot be, there is an age requirement though. You have to be commissioned by your 32nd birthday, and you have to have an associate's. There's also a physical exam that is needed, but provided you have the right ASVAB scores, this may be an opportunity for you. And this is also an example of what a program authorization looks like. So later on, we'll talk about, especially when we have an officer recruiter on, we'll talk about how important it is to make sure you are very familiar with program authorizations for the different designators that you want to apply for. All right, and as we wrap up the LDO portion, I want to take an opportunity to introduce Lieutenant Commander Quentin Cooper, who is here with us, and we're going to pick his brain for a bit about the LDO program. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, and hello, everyone from coming from Millington.
Awesome. All right, everyone. So Lieutenant Commander Quentin Cooper, he is a prior GSEC. He is also the branch head for the Enlisted Surface Department up in Millington. He has a BS in engineering management and an MBA, and he's completed tours on board a variety of ships like frigates, destroyers, and he's also the Chang on the Carter Hall. So, sir, I had a few questions for you. First, just wondering, as a GSEC, at what point did you realize that you wanted to become a limited duty officer?
Actually, I started looking into officer programs as early as E5. I started with Seaman and Admiral. I applied for LDO CWO when I was a chief select. So Just imagine that. So on board the good ship Kaufman, FFG 59, I reported as a GSE-1. I was fortunate enough to select for chief, and I left as an ensign.
Wow. Oh, that's fantastic. So, and you had talked about the different, so you made chief. What led you towards LDO opposed to chief warrant officer?
And that's That's a funny nugget. The reason why I say that is because I applied for both. Okay, I applied for both. I did not realize until later that I was ineligible for Chief Warrant Officer because of the time in service. So I was right at 11 years.
Awesome. So when it comes to LDO and warrant, what are, especially with you being at Millington, what are some of the common misconceptions that you hear from the fleet or, out from different folks about applying for the program or about filling the job as an LDO or Muslim?
So Twyla, you kind of mentioned it earlier. One of the biggest misconceptions that I wanted to allude to was the educational opportunities that exist for LDOs and CWOs. So obviously we're technical managers, just like everyone else, our job is very tasking. But there are educational opportunities out there. They exist at the War College, and then I think even some at MPS. Now with that, you just have to have that work-life school balance, which is very important.
Yes, absolutely. And I know just when it comes to LDO and warrants, I know that sea time is very important, especially when it comes to advancement. So did a little digging on you, and I know that you've been married for 24 years. Congratulations, that's amazing. And you have 5 kids. So how were you able to balance your work life, making sure that you're being competitive, making it all the way to lieutenant commander, and making sure that you're able to spend time with your children?
Yeah, it's a great question, Twyla. So you definitely have to have a strong spouse. I would say that I would put that in my wife's corner for her ability to manage. 5 children, 27 years of service, married 24 years of them. I would say that we kind of got 2 sets going on. So, 4 kids kind of early in the career, and then a little bit later in the career, we kind of had our last one. So he's 7 right at this particular moment, and he kind of runs the household. But I would say that having a strong spouse is what allowed that to occur.
That is wonderful. Glad to hear it. All righty. Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. I know how busy you are, so we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up, as we wrap up the general officer portion of our brief, we're going to talk about the direct commissioning programs. All right, so when it comes to DCO, there's 2 sides of the house. You have your direct sessions. Those are all of your medical related designators. Those are your JAGs, your chaplains. And then you have the general officer side of the house where, I'm sorry, no, we're just talking about DA. So yes, you have your direct session, then you also have the reserves. So the reserves are exactly what you think. It's that 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, you have your civilian job, and then you come into the Navy when it best suits you. So what I'm really lucky to, in my day job, I'm really lucky to work with some amazing recruiters out there who've won tons of awards because of what they do. So if you have any questions about applying to be a reserve officer on the general side of the house, please make sure that you attend Lieutenant Cecilia Mitchell's breakout group starting at 1400. She'll talk to you about all her lessons learned, but from working with her, I know one of the main things that she's looking for are certifications, quantitative, qualitative analysis. You got to be a strong leader in the military as well as in the civilian side of the house, and that's what helps to make you competitive. All right, but we are lucky to have Lieutenant Jude Rosario. He is the Western Region Medical Officer Recruiter of the Year. He's one of my favorite people in my wardroom, and he's here to talk to us about being a successful medical officer recruiter, some of the things he's looking for, and he's going to talk to us about his path as well. Hey, Jude.
Hi, Twyla. Thanks for putting this together. Good afternoon, Admiral. Good afternoon, leaders. So Rosario, a little bit about me. My path is I actually joined as an enlisted active duty corpsman. So I did 9 years as an active duty corpsman. After that, I got out had about a 4.5 year gap. Working as a government employee, I do miss it. I see people around me making rank. So I decided, you know what, I miss it. I'm going to join the reserves. From the reserves, I picked up chief, and it still was not enough. I originally joined the Navy and wanted to become an officer, wanted to wear the chokers. So I said, you know what, let's go full speed ahead. And yeah, from chief, I applied as a DCO officer on the reserve side. Now, mind you, when we say direct commission when you're speaking to a recruiter, a direct commission officer means they're joining as a reserve. If it's a direct accession officer, that's going active duty. But really, it's synonymous. So same, okay? Later on in the breakout session, I will speak about more in detail about some of our programs, some of our requirements.
Fantastic. So question for you, as a medical officer recruiter, what are some of the qualities that you're looking for when a prior service or a sailor with prior service, whether it be active or reserve, when they come to you and say, hey, I want to be a medical officer, what are some of the questions that are going through your mind?
That's a very interesting question, because speaking to a recruiter, the first things we shoot for are at least the basic requirements, meaning U.S. citizen under age 42, and they have to know or at least meet the basic criteria or qualifications under the program authorization. For active duty folks, they call it the NAVADMIN. For reserve side, in the recruiting section, it is a program authorization. Whether that means being competitive, meeting the minimum GPA requirements, and actually going beyond that. So what I are competitive profiles. Typically for our medical officer programs, that's about a 3.5 or higher, okay? Especially if it's really competitive. There's a way in the region to where we can only take in so many applicants and process them. So again, strong leadership is a must. If they're prior enlisted, we want to make sure that they have an RE1 or a re-enlistable re-entry code, okay? If they got out on dishonorable discharge or any sort of, administrative paperwork or requires a waiver in the process, that could potentially be a barrier for, on their application.
Absolutely.
Strong leadership and, the whole person concept.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jude, for spending time with us. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for clearing up the DCO side of the house and explaining to some of us who are strictly active duty how the process works. So if you were ever considering possibly getting out, being a civilian for a little while, getting your degree, and then coming back in as a direct commissioning officer, you definitely want to attend Lieutenant Rosario's breakout sessions. It's happening at 1400, and he can tell you more about that. And also, we do have some other amazing medical officer recruiters. You have Chief Augustin, who will be in the HPSP group later on, as well as Lieutenant Wiseman, who is an MSc IPP guru, and he's also a medical recruiter here at in TAG Southwest. And of course, one of my favorite people, Commander Admiral Leoncio, who is a registered nurse. She's amazing, and she will talk to you about any and everything that you want to know when it comes to recruiting Navy nurses. All right, thanks, Jude. All right, and that is a perfect segue over to the medical side of the house. So we're going to talk about six different programs. MECEP, which we highlighted last year, but essentially MECEP is it's very, very similar to Seaman and Admiral, and it's ideal for those that want to become nurses. We're really lucky to have Lieutenant Anthony White again, who made a breakout session, and he will be able to help answer any questions that you may have. But common themes about all the medical programs is that you have to get commissioned by the age of 42, and there's no no age waivers, unfortunately, for these programs. GPAs are highly competitive. Now I know on here, and we'll talk about the others as well, but they have a minimum GPA of 2.5, but I'll be honest, if you really want to get picked up, you do not want to be aiming for a 2.5. You definitely want to have the highest GPA that you can. For MSIPP, that is the Medical Service Corps. So there's 31 different flavors of a Medical Service Corps officer, including a healthcare administrator like Lieutenant Rosario. You have laboratory science, pharmacy, all of those supporting medical designators. So for if you are working on your undergrad, MSc IPP would be an ideal program for you. And then if you want to be a physician or a dentist, there's the Enlisted to Medical Degree Preparatory Program, where you get to go to USHS for 2 years and essentially learn all that you need to know when it comes to USHS. I'm sorry, let me back up. USHS is the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences out in Maryland. But it's a great opportunity for you to get amazing information from leaders that are going to prepare you to apply for a medical degree. All right, and key thing about EMD P2 is that it's not guaranteed that you're going to get a commission, but it is definitely going to help you. More information about that is located at My Navy HR, and we listed some references for you in regards to MECEP and MSIPP, and at the very bottom are some point of contacts that you can call, contact, and talk to you for more questions about your package. But also keep in mind that we do have folks standing by to help you as well. All right, and then the last 3 of our medical programs that we're going to talk about is the Nurse Corps program, and 2 programs that not a lot of people know about. I've been in for 18 years, and it wasn't until I was a Lieutenant JG that I happened to meet one of my really good friends, Lieutenant Blackman, who at the time she was a Lieutenant Commander Blackman, and she was a SWO. And she found out by Googling about the Health Services Collegiate Program, which all basically medical officer recruiters, the goal is to recruit folks for these programs. But one of the things we've learned is that prior enlisted sailors or military officers are perfect for this program. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. I've thrown in a lot of information there, but Lieutenant Blackman, she has a breakout session to talk to you more about that program, as well as some medical officer recruiters that can assist you, and they can actually blueprint you. And if you're what they're looking for, they will be in contact with you and they can help push you through the program. All right, but essentially you have your health services collegiate program and your health professional scholarship program. So for the collegiate program, it is an avenue for you to gain your commission. You have to use either your GI, you will be paid as either an E6 or as E7. You can actually go up in rank if you refer folks to the medical services collegiate program, but essentially you have the time dedicated to finish your master's degree and then come back as an officer. And then you have your health professional scholarships program, which is designed a little bit more for civilians, but essentially they have a stipend, they come in and they are a collegiate, where they're similar to like an officer candidate for Seaman and Admiral. They finish their degree and then they come in as an officer. So for all of these programs, they will owe the Navy some time for their service. And did I go over that? Yes. So for Nurse Corps, you will owe 5 years. And for HSCP and HPSP, you will owe 4 years after the Navy pays for your education. All right. And down here, I have some point of contacts. And again, make sure that you come to the breakout sessions so that our officer recruiters can talk to you more about how the programs work. All right, so in summary for the medical applicants, here's a list of all of the key common attributes that the folks that are selected, these are majority of what they have. So those are all there for you to review, to keep in mind. For general officers, these are also some great attributes that you want to be striving for. Strong, superior professional performance across the board. You want to make sure that your GRE, ACT, SAT, you have competitive scores. Don't just settle on the minimum requirement. And, overall, they're going to be looking at the whole person concept as well. So to talk more about the senior letter, the performance, what folks are looking for when it comes to the board process for all of these different boards. I'm very, very excited to introduce to you our key speaker, Admiral Philip Sobek. So I mentioned before, super excited because he is a former machinist mate, and he is now the commander of Expeditionary Strike Group 3. A little bit about his background. He enlisted back in '85. He graduated from the Academy and went SWO. He served on a multitude of ships, just about every ship out there, and he was in command of the USS Avenger, the Ardent, Farragut, and he's been forward deployed 9 different times. And he's done a ton of amazing shore tours, to include the assistant to the 76th Secretary of the Navy. So really excited to chat with him. I'm going to shut up and turn it over to him. But hello, Admiral. Thank you so much for joining us and letting us steal some of your time. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hello, hello.
Hello. All right, so I have a question for you. In your enlisted days, what was it that made you choose the Naval Academy? Like while you were, a machinist mate, at what point in your career were you like, you know what, I wanna be an officer?
Yeah, it's there's a little bit of a story, and I want to make sure that you maximize your breakout sessions, so I won't go too long. But I was a dairy farmer from Boyertown, Pennsylvania, and 2 weeks prior to my high school graduation is when I decided that the Navy was for me. I basically went into the recruiting office, and it was a joint recruiting office, and the Navy guy was the only person there during lunch, and I went Navy, and so that was sort of my scope, and we all come from varying backgrounds. My background was such that I was sort of destined to be a baseball player, professional wise, and it just didn't work out, and it kind of fell flat quickly right before I was getting to graduate from high school, and I just didn't have a plan B. So first note to self, plan B is a wonderful thing. So I enlisted, and then I freaked out the night at O'Hare Airport as I stood in the line to get ready to get bussed up to go to Great Lakes. And, it was one of those perfect evenings where it was raining really hard. It was freezing cold, and you get to march your way into the barracks up at Great Lakes, and then off to the races. And I was absolutely scared. And so the bottom line was, I love the question of, don't ever forget your why. I didn't have a why other than I wanted to go to college. And I didn't know how to get to the real why at that point in my life. And so it really was just kind of that personal moment where I was scared, and I was just, head down and just kind of figuring out as I went. And finished up boot camp and went into A school and finished up that. And I was a mid-watch down at Nuke Power School in Orlando. And I was walking around the quarterdeck trying to keep myself awake, and looked on the bulkhead, and it's had this big plaque here about Naval Academy acceptees, if you will, and folks that were midshipmen at the Naval Academy. And it had this list in here, and I was like, well, what in the world's that? And I just didn't know. Again, a dairy farmer, just didn't have a whole bunch of insight on what the Navy really brought out. Didn't have a Googler back at that time to Google anything. And so it was all about, kind of what the chief was able to give me. My first senior chief said that wasn't for me. That officer program wasn't for me. A motivator in life could be when someone tells you no. I would not aspire to that being the motivator, but that was my situation. Someone told me no, and now I got really interested in it, because why not me? Why not me? And so that really was the motivator as I, went to that program, and I got accepted as a candidate to go to NAPS, the preparatory school up in Newport, and because I truly didn't have the background. I didn't have my SAT scores, my high school transcript, everything else would not, excite many people as they were looking at, how to select folks. And so it really was about, okay, and I look in the mirror a little bit, and hey, this is what this is going to be. This is going to be just kind of apply and see what happens. And, the luck factor, I think, was there to a point. But it really was a matter of someone told me no. When I got to the Naval Academy, though, and I hope folks resonate with this, but maybe, it's different. And Twyla, I know you never had this problem, but I believe I spent the first 2 years of my Naval Academy experience not being worthy, and not being able to feel like I belonged, because I just came from a different background and I came from a different approach. I had shipmates and I had great friends. I had everything, but I always felt like, I wasn't necessarily worthy to be in the spot that I was. And all I would say as a piece of advice is, one, there's a reason. First off, you've already gone, 75% of the way by raising your right hand to support and defend our great country. And so, that's an amazing feat that you've already cut the cord of that top 1% of our country. And so, that was kind of where my beginnings, started happening of, what was I really able to be in the same room as, and I still feel sometimes the same way, looking at myself with a rank of 07, but it certainly is an amazing opportunity that the Navy has presented for me. I wasn't ready for it when I really got there. And I can talk more about how do you prepare yourself for that. And I think you did exactly what I would have hoped for, to lay things out, to network, to allow people to understand what this is all about. And then to really start understanding that this can be you. And this is an opportunity that the Navy presents you like no other.
Wow. Thank you, sir. You answered a couple of my questions that I was going to bring up, but wonderful. So I want to talk a little bit about mentorship because you briefly touched on that. Coming up in the ranks, how did you approach someone to ask, would you be my mentor? And second part of that question is, as a mentor, what are some of the common themes that you're making sure that folks understand as you mentor them?
Yeah. And let me kind of start with the last part first. Curiosity, boldness, and humility. So that's what I look into. That's what I aspire to. And we can kind of talk about that in different ways. The mentoring program, everyone and all the time. And so how I approach my circle of mentors, if you will, is who's not like me, and who do I want to be? And again, Twyla, we just met over this virtual process, and so I want to meet somebody, and I want to be like somebody that is articulate, is outgoing, can express themselves, is clearly just somebody that is excited about being who they are, what they are, and what they're about, and they can communicate that. That's the leader that we want in our Navy. That's the leader we want in this crazy, crazy world we live in, that is changing so fast. And so those are the leaders that we want to be a part of our wardroom going forward. And so I look for really somebody that when I say I want to be like you, I look at, again, for me, it's Admiral Caldwell out there. He is the Naval Reactors, and he is a 4-star. I've never worked for him before. I met him in circles. I've seen him speak, but he's thoughtful. He's outgoing. He listens like nobody's business. I look at Admiral Franchetti, and she is somebody that is just an energizer bunny from a standpoint of motivated about people and getting to know people, and then to get the best out of those that are around her. Those kind of folks. And then something that I really have learned over the years is that I got a Seaman, Thomas Duckworth is a mentor of mine. And he's now up in, he's I'm losing it. He's a air crewman working in P8s. And I get to learn through his eyes about what it is to be a brand new, now a 3rd class and trying to figure it out, from their level. And so it's this reverse mentorship also. So I have obviously a career builder mentorship, which is amongst peers as well as seniors or other folks inside and outside the Navy. I literally had my first XO of my ship over at the house last night. He was in town on business. I haven't seen him for 30 years or for 28 years, sorry. And it was just like yesterday. And he's the one that presented me my first captain's command pin on my first ship that I commanded. And so it's those sort of networks and those sort of connective tissue that I offer. And it's just so much easier in today's connective society. So what I ask you to do in this forum is, one, Twyla has my information. I'm a Navy.mil type of individual. I'm quickly becoming a .fe, .navy.mil. We're heading to Singapore in July, but you can come out and reach me. That is your network. This forum, automatically links us now into a platform where you can reach out and just ask a question to, again, I am fortunate enough to be an admiral in the United States Navy, and I want you to be one too, if that's what you want. And so allow me to help you in that regard. Allow me to, to build your network by introducing you to people that, are around your circle or around your likes and interests and that kind of stuff. That's how we get ahead. But from a leader development program, as far as mentors, you have to have junior mentors and you got to have senior mentors. And that's how I've grown throughout the years. I know we're looking at time.
That was amazing, sir. Honestly, you already answered all my questions pretty much in that. Thank you so much. We're going to have you come back another time because I have so many more questions I would love to ask you, but I want to make sure that I can direct everybody. So honestly, sir, I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for your time, for chatting with us. And you made a perfect segue for us to go ahead and make sure that everyone is tracking that all of our breakout sessions are on our website, sdnnoa.org. Some of the things I want to highlight that we have received from a lot of our senior mentors is that overall, when you're applying for these programs, shoot for being the #1 EP. Shoot for being that Sailor of the Year, outstanding PRTs, and have a strong, authentic senior letter of recommendation. If you haven't already, make sure that you are acting like an officer now. And I say that in the sense that as officers, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So if you expect to receive the CO's endorsement saying that you should join the rank of an officer, you want to make sure that you're carrying yourself in that manner. All right, so again, there are some references there. And as the Admiral mentioned, there are so many different associations out there where you can network and meet different people. And it's okay if they don't look like you or if they're not in the same designator as you, but make sure that you go ahead and put yourself in a position where you can network with folks. So below we have on there's some amazing Facebook groups out there like the Future Mustangs group. You also have your Service Navy, your Navy Nurse Association, and there's also ANZO and us, NNOA, and we are standing by to help and set you all up for success, especially since you'll be relieving us. So thank you all for your time. I have to give a huge thank you to our NNOA admin guru, Ms. Kwan. Ma'am, thank you so much for helping us out with all the technical parts of the brief, as well as all of our speakers. Huge thank you again to Admiral Sobek, and thank you to your aide for connecting us. And it's 1400. So I'm gonna stay on this line. Everybody else, go ahead and go to your breakout sessions. And the rest of us, we will be here to see if we can help answer any questions for a bit, as well as help with any technical issues. All right, thank you all for your time.